Greetings, sisters and brothers. This is Milton Ali-Mahdi, publisher of the Black Star News. Please visit blackstarnews.com. Please also feel free to reach me via malimahdi@gmail.com. Sisters and brothers, I want to speak about the upcoming rally outside the United Nations, February 15, beginning at 12 noon. That's at Dag Hammarskjöld Plaza Park on 47th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenue. Under the banner hashtag Proud Africans, a coalition of African organizations here in New York City, African American organizations, Latino organizations, Caribbean organizations, and our American friends and colleagues are coming together to repudiate Donald Trump's shithole comments made January 11 at the White House when he was discussing immigration policy. And he's reported to have questioned loudly, why are we accepting immigrants from these shithole countries, in reference to African countries, in reference to Haiti, in reference to El Salvador as well. So we've gotten way beyond that anger stage now. No, we're not angry. We're coming together to show our power and to empower ourselves and to deepen and broaden our alliances amongst these organizations that are organizing this event, and of course the people that have been invited to attend. And hopefully all of you will come and participate in this rally beginning at 12 noon. I just wanted to make very brief statements regarding the shithole comments. Donald Trump knows that Africa is not a collection of shithole countries. And we have the proof. In September, during the United Nations General Assembly, when he met with African presidents, he told them that his rich friends are making a lot of money in Africa. So he knows that Africa is wealthy. No matter how limited knowledge of the world this man has, he knows one thing for sure, that in order to build wealth and prosperity, you need raw resources. And everybody in the world, I don't care how dense and thick-headed you are, and in many respects, the man in the White House seems to qualify as very dense and thick-headed, but he knows that Africa contains abundant wealth. And that has always been the challenge. The whole world has coveted over Africa's resources, whether it's minerals, raw resources, natural resources, and even human beings, as we know. It is because of African enslaved labor that the United States became wealthy, that Europe became wealthy, and Africa's plundered resources. That is why we have certain parts of the world that are industrialized, wealthy, and certain parts of the world, including Africa, supplying raw materials to the rest of the world. And in order to steal Africa's resources, in order to commit crimes against Africa, the language of demonization has always gone hand in hand with plunder. From Joseph Conrad, and even the era before him, Joseph Conrad of Heart of Darkness, the white man's burden, the alleged need to civilize Africa, to bring darkness to the alleged heathens from Europe. How can you come and say you're civilizing people by committing genocide in the Congo? 10 million Congolese died under the regime of Leopold of the Belgians. Obviously, he did not say he was coming to commit genocide in the Congo. In fact, he called his enterprise a scientific mission. There was no science. We know through the history books, when we see the limbs, the severed limbs of Congolese who could not produce enough rubber, 10 million ultimately died. The Germans committed the massacre, the genocide of the Herero in what is today Namibia. What kind of civilizing enterprise is that? That was the precursor of the genocide later conducted in Germany. against the Jews under the Nazi regime. The precursor was the near extermination of the Herero in Namibia. So all along, the language of demonization goes with theft. Africa was characterized as jungles, as a continent inhabited by savages. Translation, shitholes. So that brings us to the contemporary era, when Donald Trump is referring to African countries as shitholes, while at the same time he's already told us that his rich friends are making money in Africa. So why is he using that language? He is using that language because that's the kind of language that has always been consistently used to dehumanize Africa, to cover up for the plunder of resources, the exploitation of Africa, and the theft of resources in Africa. And that continues today. We have military occupation by the United States all over the African continent, soldiers deployed all over the continent, U.S. business enterprises all over the continent, African economy subjugated under the World Bank, IMF, structural adjustment model that condemns African countries to be permanent producers of raw materials and consumers of manufactured products from the West. These are not a collection of shitholes. That language is just used to justify the exploitation of Africa. And we challenge our colleagues in the large corporate medias who have a wide outreach to inform your news-consuming public that whenever the language of demonization is being used, it's used to mask atrocities that are being committed in Africa, even today in the 21st century, when we support dictatorial regimes such as Yoweri Museveni's in Uganda, who has plundered resources from the Congo, invaded the Congo multiple times, invaded South Sudan, invaded Rwanda, and in his wake left tens of millions of Africans dead. And yet he's still supported by the United States. Gets about $1 billion in U.S. Financial assistance every year. No, sisters and brothers, beware. Donald Trump knows exactly what he's talking about when he refers to Africa as shithole republics. He knows they're not shitholes. They are the source of fraudulently acquired wealth to continue building the United States and the Western world. Thank you. Please join us at the march, February 15, 12 noon, 47th Street, outside the UN, between 1st and 2nd Avenue. Stay strong. If you need any information, call 212-340-1975. Once again, 212-340-1975. Thank you, sisters and brothers. Stay strong. One Africa, united.